Hello, I'm Rabbi Judith Rosen-Berry, and if you're watching this pre-recorded video, it means that I'm actually on a train somewhere between London and Oxford, so unable to get home in time to join you on a live Zoom call. But I'm incredibly happy to be sharing this Shavuot tikkun with you, and of course for the launch and celebration of Voices for Prophetic Judaism. But it's late, and so I need to get on with my short study that I want to share with you of Franz Kafka's story, Gib's Auf, or Give It Up. And hopefully we'll see at some point in a few minutes why I wanted to share this particular story with you. For me, there are at least 3 layers in it that we should pay attention to. The first is it's a story that contains an alarm bell, that we are misreading the times that we live in. Secondly, it's a story with a warning about being careful who it is that we turn to for guidance in these strange times. And then thirdly, it's a story about a challenge when we're told basically to give up, to not try and change things. The challenge is to not hear that and then to not give up. So it's about resistance. Okay, I think what I'll do now is read the short story written by Kafka, but in a gesture of incredible technical wizardry, I am going to hold a paper up in front of the camera with the text of the story on it so that you can see it at least whilst I read it. So this is it. This is Franz Kafka's story, Give It Up. It was very early in the morning. The streets were clean and deserted. I was on my way to the station. As I compared my watch with the clock tower, I saw that it was much later than I had thought. I had to hurry. In my alarm at this discovery, I became unsure of the way. I was still something of a stranger in this town. Luckily, there was a policeman at hand. I ran up to him and breathlessly asked him the way. He smiled and said, "Do you expect to discover the way from me?" "Yes," I said, "since I cannot find it myself." "Give it up, give it up," said he, and turned away with great flourish, like a man who wants to be alone with his laughter. Right, that's the short story. Someone is on their way to a train station in a town that they don't know. The time is very early in the morning. The streets are clean and empty. There is nobody around. Then the person tries to locate themselves in space and time by looking up to a clock tower. But this, rather than bringing clarity, actually brings more uncertainty. It quickly becomes clear that the man's initial idea that it is still early in the morning is in fact an illusion. For in reality, it's already much later than he had believed. Now, there is a necessity to hurry. Time has become scarce, and with it, space is shrinking. And with that, fear grows. Now, I can show you a picture of our main character, confused and lost in a city that he has arrived in, and he's looking for the train station, and there seem to be multiple routes and he doesn't know which one to go down to get to the train station. So he's going to look around for somebody who can offer him some guidance. And as you can see here in the corner, there is the policeman. So, because our protagonist is unsure of which way to go, there's a chain reaction of terror building. Because when someone is in such a situation, when they're short of time, they can easily lose their compass, they can easily lose their sense of direction, their previous notion of what orientates them. And so what previously felt perhaps like a clear path actually becomes a confusing labyrinth. So from now on, in this story, everything begins to happen very quickly. Everything is set at a hectic pace. I think this conveys a kind of loss of control, the steady strides that our character begins with develop into panicky movements. So now, in his confusion, our protagonist looks for an authority to give him help. And this authority comes in the form of a policeman. And I'm going to show you another picture to illustrate our policeman. Here he is. And you can see here that the policeman actually is a symbol or represents in some way the power of the state. So he's wearing his uniform to convey that power. But in fact, what's really interesting is, in this story, this authority figure, this person with lots of power, is in fact incapable or unwilling to provide the much needed information that our protagonist needs, which is why there is a state of panic. Where time is running out and space has become confusing, the policeman or the authority figure should actually be encouraging or offering help and advice. But the policeman mockingly asks, "You want to know the way from me?" And it's then, in a shocking moment of realization, that the protagonist understands that those in authority have no idea as to which direction he or we should actually be travelling in. So in asking the policeman, this authority figure, or trusting them and waiting for them to solve our problem, which they're not going to do, valuable time is again wasted. And that's time where, if we weren't looking outside of ourselves, we could be trying to find the solution for ourselves. And then there is the abrupt ending. All that can be heard as the story ends are the words, "Gib's auf, Gib's auf," give up, give up. And I have another picture here to illustrate that point. We have here a kind of terrifying figure, the policeman, pinning our main character to the wall and kind of shouting at him to simply give up. The policeman then turns away with a flourish. It's like it's a joke. He wants to be alone, laughing at the problem that our main character presented him with. So the story breaks off here with a devastating statement to give up. But what's equally depressing in a way is not only the failure of authority to lead, to lend help and direction, but also that our protagonist doesn't meet the demand for him to give up with any kind of protest. The announcement isn't questioned by our main character. It doesn't provoke any objection in them. So there is a feeling of failure, kind of inevitability of failure. Now, the policeman, who represents, in fact, probably all authority figures, even religious figures, rabbis, when they do have any kind of authority, that these people with authority, are not those who can see forward. And in fact, they have become, or always possibly have been, the anti-prophets. Authority figures don't see the way forward. Their message is about the futility, in fact, of searching for solutions, for future vision. So the message of give up is actually all about staying with the status quo, not trying to find something better. Now, that's a rather pessimistic note to end on, and Kafka wasn't known for his kind of upbeat conclusions. I don't want to leave you on that note tonight. It's Shavuot, a night of celebration. So there are a few things that I think that we could think about. I wish I was there with you so that we could kind of like discuss this together. But here are three things for us to take away and to perhaps contemplate on a little bit more. The first thing is this. Like the protagonist in Kafka's short story, initially at least, we think we understand the world. We think we understand the surroundings that we find ourselves in. The question is, are we misreading? And if we are misreading, we have to ask ourselves why. Now, this leads into a bigger question, and perhaps the question that is central to the short story, which is, maybe we are misreading the times that we are in because we are looking to the wrong people to explain them to us. Now, the second point, I think, is an interesting one, which is that the clock tower that Kafka mentions in the story, that our protagonist looks up to for direction, is what's known as a hierarchic or theological symbol. In that sense, it represents something beyond us, something that can warn us, something that has perhaps a prophetic message, something that is trying to tell us that time is much later than we think, that time is running out. The question for us, leading on from this, is who are we turning to in our confusion? Is it to the hierarchic, the theological symbol, in a sense, that offers us something beyond ourselves, a kind of a vision that we cannot see but that is actually there? Or do we look to the authority figures who have no intention of offering any kind of transformative vision or any direction out of the problems that we are facing? That's the second point. And the third point is this, that the policeman, as we know, is a symbolic figure. figure of someone with authority, someone who we have been taught to trust, someone who says that they have our best interests at heart, someone who can lead the way. But as we keep asking, can they? So isn't Kafka warning us that these authority figures are the anti-prophets, that they have no vision, that they're not truthful, they're not able to warn us about what is unfolding in the future or to offer an alternative? And if this is true, who do we turn to? Where are the new prophets? Now, I'd like to end by saying something quite simple. And it's this: in the spirit of Voices for Prophetic Judaism, we are the prophets. That it's our voices together that can tell a story that shows a way forward. And it's for this reason that we mustn't give up. Thank you very much for joining me, and I wish you a very happy Shavuot, and see you soon.